The certification uncertainty. Theo's first aid story. Meet Theo. Like a lot of us, Theo's an adult learner, and there's a whole lot of things that influence their learning, motivation, engagement, and just general aspects by virtue of being an adult learner. Some of the things here you might connect with. For example, training required both for school and your career that is expensive that you have to save up a while for, as well as finding time for the training within your busy schedules. In addition, Theo has a lot of anxiety with timed high-stakes exams. Multiple choice questions in particular were hard because they seemed to be trying to trick them into messing up. Consider for a moment the context. Learners of all ages and at all stages could have a multitude of different disabilities, and this could be a full range of partial, visible, non-visible, temporary, or permanent disabilities. And they can have more of an influence than people may realize, and may or may not impact the ability to learn new things or to display a particular new skill. This does not mean, however, that persons affected are any less capable, especially when the learning environment has equitable accommodations and utilizes universal design for learning. Theo has taken first aid, CPR, and AED training 3 times now. Once was the original 2-day certification for adult level, the second was a 2-day upgrade for child level, and the third time was 1 day to renew their certification before it could expire. All the classes were mixed, meaning students could be taking any level of certification and still be all together in the same cohort. Every time Theo's gone, they've had a different instructor. All the instructors have to cover the same information, and they did, with the exception of a couple of minor modifications, say having a smaller child-sized CPR dummy or an adult level one, depending on which one you were taking in the class. The same skills all have to be observed over the course of the day, and some of the physical skills require moving large individuals into the recovery position or displaying a 4-man carry method. The written tests all have the exact same questions, 60 multiple choice. However, each of the instructors has facilitated the written tests differently. Meet Trainer 1. They gave the students 45 minutes to complete the questions independently, and they weren't allowed to use the handbook. Students had only 1 chance to pass, and they could not have more than 4 questions wrong. The tests were marked immediately, and those who passed received their certificates. Everybody had to hand in their test before anybody could leave. Theo found this singular high-stakes attempt with its unforgiving deadline to be very anxiety-inducing and reminded them of their final exams in school. Meet Trainer 2. They allotted 45 minutes for the test, and it was completed aloud as a group. The instructor stood at the front of the room, reading the questions out loud, and whichever student knew the answer, whether having memorized it over the course of the day or finding it in the first aid handbook, raised their hand to provide the answer. As long as it was correct, the instructor told everybody to select that letter, and then they moved on to the next question. Everybody received 100%. Meet Trainer 3. The final instructor gave the students 1 hour of official time, but also made it clear that they were happy to stay past the official end time and everybody could take as much time as they needed. The test was to be completed independently without using the handbook, but when a student finished, they would take it up to the instructor, who would immediately mark it using a transparent marking sheet. If any of the questions needed to be corrected, the instructor told the student which ones to redo, and they could retry any incorrect answers as many times as needed. If a question was wrong again, the instructor would explain the question with more detail and go over the different possible answers until the student found the correct one. Again, everybody received 100%. Theo was left with a whole host of questions at the end of these experiences. How can the very same certification course be assessed in such different ways? Is one of the methods better? Would it be more effective if one of them was used for everyone? And what about the loss of cost for the people who didn't pass in the first instructor's methods? And what about the multiple choice questions? Theo's always had a lot of trouble with those. And usually there's one option that's pretty obviously wrong, but then there's almost always two choices that are really close. It feels like the creator of the test is trying to trick them, but why does a test need to be a trick? And what about the people who can't physically do the hold and carry, or people that can't use their upper body strength to roll somebody into the recovery position? Don't they want everybody to be successful? Don't they want learners to get their certifications? Consider for a moment. First aid training sees a vast range of different learners, not only with different personal backgrounds, but people who come in with different professional and educational purposes and goals for attending. Assessment implications can be far-reaching and impact learners for years. Assessment measures need to be accurate, relevant, designed for the topic and learners, inclusive, and accessible for diverse learners. When creating assessments, there's many things we need to consider. Among those is the impact of the assessment on the classroom instruction in order to facilitate, rather than constrain, the modification of instruction based on student performance. As well, we need to ensure accuracy, precision, reliability for all students within the assessments. Inclusive assessment is built on alignment between learner goals, assessment, and outcomes. Have we seen this supported here within Theo's story? Are all the assessments authentic? Is there choice, flexibility, and clarity within all the assessments? Are the practices equitable for all of our learners? Consider some of these ideas: standardized testing, multiple choice questions, varied facilitation, full class display of skills for assessment and observation. The course is expensive. Is that accessible for all? Are all able to be included and take part in this training? Are there any examples of effective, inclusive assessment practices in Theo's case? Is there a more equitable form of assessment that could be implemented or incorporated? Consider your own experiences with first aid and/or other certificate training. Is universal design for learning utilized? What barriers or roadblocks could exist for learners of all different ages, abilities, and socioeconomic classes? What could be the root of this barrier? For a moment, consider the first adapted first aid training, an inclusive Red Cross experience. Having facilitated non-certified first aid courses and leading the Canadian Council for First Aid Education to explore strategies for supporting diverse learners, it's clear that adapted first aid training offers people with disabilities a more equitable learning experience. With specific adaptations, learners are more likely to build important knowledge and skills, have a higher certification rate, and feel a sense of pride and accomplishment in gaining this much desired skill set. Thank you.